What's up, America? Neil here from the Geauga Firearms Academy. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the two most important fundamentals to shooting, and that's going to be aiming and trigger control. But most importantly, we're going to talk today about techniques and methods that you could actually use when using these two fundamentals to improve your shooting game. So here we go. Alright, so let's first begin with aiming, okay? Now, obviously there's 2 points to aiming, and that's going to be sight alignment and the actual sight picture. So, sight alignment is very simple. That is the alignment of your rear sights with your front sights. So what we're looking to do here is have, in this particular setup, we have a 3-dot system. That's majority of your sights out there from the factory. Glock does have a little square box in the back. You may have aftermarket sights, but nonetheless, what we're trying to do is get a nice horizontal line and have that front post right in the center of that opening with equal amounts of space on each side of this front post. In a minute here, I'm going to show you a video up close on what this really looks like. But the second most important thing here when we're doing this is focusing on the front sight. The human eye can only focus on one thing at a time. So rather than focusing on your rear sights or the target, we're going to focus primarily on that front sight. And by doing that, that's going to give us many advantages, especially as we get into shooting from a concealed position and having to find that front sight in a very small amount of time. So front sight focus will also help us with the accuracy as well, because it allows us to focus on the last point of contact that we have before that projectile leaves our firearm. So let's take a look at what proper alignment looks like and what front sight focus actually looks like. Okay, with much frustration with the camera, I'm doing the best I can here to show you the difference of front sight focus. As you notice, the rear sights are out of focus, and of course your target will be out of focus. All I want you to take from this particular clip right here is how clear that front sight is. Next, I'm going to show you proper alignment. Alright, so here we go. This is proper alignment with the front sight with equal amount of space between the right and left rear sight. If I shoot high, you'll see the front sight come up above the rear sights. If I'm shooting low, you'll see that red dot go below the sights. Obviously too far to the left and too far to the right. But that would be right on. Putting that red dot right where the bullseye is, taking a beautiful shot. Alright, so now we have the relationship of the front rear sight and lining up our sight properly with the target. So now we have aiming down. Now let's talk about trigger control. You'll notice with most all pistols, for the exception of some target types, I want you to take a close look at the trigger movement here. So this trigger is going to have a little bit of slack in it. So the one thing I want you guys to take away from this is what we want to do is, instead of shooting from here, taking that long shot where you can have potential movement, I want to take the slack up, hit that wall, add just a tiny bit more pressure, and let the shot break. Now if we follow the entire cycle of this, as it comes forward, you'll hear it click, and that's a reset. Although the trigger can continue to come forward, we're not going to waste our movement with that. We're going to go right to that break again, add a slight bit more pressure, and the gun will go off. Again, working to reset and coming back. When it comes to marksmanship, having that trigger movement reduction like that is enormous. This will help your game tremendously. So that when you go to the range, we're going to align our sights, focus on that front sight, take the slack out of our trigger, make sure we're aligned properly, focus on the front sight, and break our shot. If you do those two things, front sight focus and taking the slack out, breaking that trigger properly, you're going to be miles ahead of the game. Now remember, the total cycle of the trigger would be to break your shot, come back to reset, and then break your shot again. But for when you're at the range, just keep it simple for now. Just get used to taking the slack up and breaking the shot. Now a good way to practice this all is to make sure that when I take the slack out, if you watch my muzzle here, it stays completely level. That's what we're looking for. I don't want any of this dipping, any movement. I don't want any side torsion. All I want is a nice clean break. So that muzzle is right on target. That's what we're trying to accomplish. That's what dry fire is all about. Alright guys, to wrap this all up, once again, the next time you're at the range or even at home practicing, what we want to do is align those sights, focus on that front sight, take the slack out of the trigger, add a slight bit more pressure until the shot breaks. After you get past that step, you can have the next phase, which is then letting the trigger out slowly until it resets, taking it back and breaking that again. Adding those two things will enormously improve your game of shooting. I hope this helps. If you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.